Hey there, my name is Brandon and I'm the owner and founder of Learning Code Online, where I help you become a better programmer. In this video, we're going to be talking about Matplotlib, a plotting library that allows you to easily visualize your data set. If you like this kind of content, be sure to like this video and then hit the subscribe button and also hit that little bell so that way you get notified of whenever we post new videos. So I'm not going to waste any time with an introduction, we're just going to dive straight into it. Alright, so in order to be able to create your first plot in Matplotlib, we have to install the Matplotlib library because it doesn't come bundled together with your base Python installation on your machine. We can achieve this one of two ways. The first way is by activating a Conda environment and then installing it into that, but that's a little bit more advanced. I would recommend that you use pip because pip is kind of much easier to install. If you don't have it on your system, that's okay. There are some instructions which I'll link in the description below for you to be able to go in and install pip. So to test to see if you have pip, you could just type in pip, P-I-P, right? And you should get this little pop-up or command line interface information for pip. Again, if you don't have it installed, feel free to install it using the link that I provide in the description. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in pip install matplotlib, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And so what this is going to do is it's going to go in and it's going to find the latest version of Matplotlib and put it on your machine. My output is going to be a little bit different from yours because it says that I've already installed it into my base environment, and that's okay. If it's already installed, it's already installed. Great. All right, so now that you have Matplotlib installed onto your machine, let's go ahead and create your very first plot. So what I have open here on the side inside of Visual Studio Code is just a folder with nothing inside of it. So I'm gonna right click and create a new file. If you're not using VS Code, you just create a new file somewhere on your file system. So we're gonna call this plot.py. Right. And in Visual Studio Code, it's going to pop open the editor. It should do the exact same thing for you. And the very first line of code we are going to do is import matplotlib.pyplot as plt. And that's quite a bit. So let me break this down for you. So this import statement says, I want you to take a package that is not the standard baseline for Python, and I want you to bring that in. The matplotlib.pyplot is that package, okay? And then we're going to reference that package rather than saying matplotlib.pyplot.plot, whatever. We're just going to reference that as plt, and this will make a little bit more sense later down the line. So on line 3, we're just going to create our x and y axes. We're just going to create some random data, so it's not going to have any meaning. So we'll label this to be x-axis equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Y-axis to be just some random numbers. 3, 8, 9. We'll do 20. So quickly to recap, we just have our x-axis going from 1 to 5, and then similarly with our y-axis, we're going from looks like -3 to 34. And then we just call the plt.plot x-axis, y-axis, and hit save. This is all you need to get your plot up and running. Is you need to specify the x-axis and you need to specify the y-axis, which we do here on lines 3 and 4. We'll go ahead and hit run. So something new is going to kind of pop up here on my end. What happened? We don't see a plot. Well, that's because, well, we did not say that we want to see a plot. So it's a personal preference of mine to actually save the plot to disk. So if you want to, you can call plt.show, and that'll just show you the plot. But I like to save it to disk so that way I can share it to my colleagues. And that driver code for me is plt.savefig. And then I want to give it the name of the figure. So we're going to do plot.png. It's optional to have the .png there. By default, it is .png. And then we're going to pass in an argument called DPI, and that is dots per inch. And we're going to pass a value of 300. And this is just stuff that I've memorized and that I have found that I like the best. You can completely customize this. I won't dive into detail. And then bbox inches equals tight. And for our purposes, I'm not going to get into detail with what that is. But if we go ahead and hit run one last time, right here, I see plot.png and bada bing, bada boom. So without this bbox inches equals tight, just for your guys' reference, right, I'm going to pull this to the side here so that way you can see it. Go ahead and hit run one last time. Notice that there's all this extra padding around the plot, right? With plt.show, it shows you that extra padding. Again, I'm not a fan of it, so I just save it to disk. And then I add in that bbox inches equals tight. Hit run one last time, and boom. Okay, so I do want to circle back to this PLT that I was mentioning. We can think of this as like an alias for this specific package or this module, right? So whatever you're importing, we can alias it with this. Because if we were to do something like this, we see how tricky it can get to read, right? Matplotlib.pyplot.plot. And while it is very nice being able to be explicit with like what package and what module you're working with, sometimes it's just easier to throw in an alias and call it a day. So we have as PLT here and here, right? And now the code is just so much easier to read. And another popular package that people do this with is NumPy. So instead of doing import NumPy and then calling all the methods and stuff like that inside of that package, they just do as NP. So they'll do np.average or np.mean or whatever they're doing. Okay, so now that we have this plot in place, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I'm not a big fan of it. And the reason why is because there's no contextual information, stuff that tells us what this plot is about, what the x-axis is and what the y-axis is, right? Personally, I would not hand this off to a coworker or even my boss because it just doesn't tell us anything. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna add in the title as well as the x and y axes. And we're also gonna throw in a legend just to give a little bit more contextual information. So first things first, we're going to come down to about line 9 here-ish, and we are going to type in plt.title. And what this is going to do is it's going to set a title for our graph. So we'll do my first graph. Okay. Same thing here, plt.xLabel. And what this is going to do is it's going to put a string of some sort or some kind of text below the x-axis saying what it is. Our data doesn't have any significance, so we're just going to make something up. We'll do, this is the x-axis, okay? And then plt.ylabel, similarly, just like with the x label, it throws a label on the y-axis. You do, this is the y label, axis label. Okay, we're going to go ahead and hit save. We'll hold off on the legend for just one brief second, hit run, bada bing, bada boom. Now what we're looking at here is the title, which is my first graph, and then this is the y-axis label here on the left-hand side, and then this is the x-axis label all the way at the bottom. So I would definitely be more inclined to give this to my boss or my colleagues, assuming that it has some kind of significance, because now there's contextual information and it tells us what this graph is about and what the units and what the x and y axes are. So what if we wanted to add in a little bit more? Let's say that we had like a scatter plot and it had multiple pieces of data and you wanted to know what the different colors are for all the points. Well, we can do so by typing in plt.legend. It doesn't take any parameters straight out of the gates. There are some parameters you can pass in, but for the sake of this video, we're going to leave it out. But if we do this and we hit run, we notice that we get a little error here. It says no artist with the labels found to put in legend. Okay, what this means is that we didn't tell Matplotlib what to put inside of the legend. And the way that we do that is we do inside of our plot function, or method I should say, we can do label equals, I don't know, data. Hit save, hit run. That little message should go away. And notice here that we have a legend, which is awesome. Now, one cool thing to note is that Matplotlib automatically puts the legend on the graph. So if I were to change this to, say, 33, that legend is going to move because there's data there, and we want to be able to visualize that data, right? So now it's in the lower left rather than the upper left. All right, and there you have it, your first plot inside of Matplotlib, and it gives you that contextual information to tell you exactly what that graph is. If you've made it this far and you followed along the entire way, congratulations. But I want to throw in a little added bonus that I just did not mention at the very beginning. That's for a good reason. So we're going to make this thing dark mode because it's 2023. We use dark mode in 2023. So to do that, we do plt.style.use dark background. Oops, this should actually be an underscore. Hit save, we'll hit run, and it automatically converts it to dark mode for you. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this insightful and enjoyable. If you found this video to be really insightful and you want to continue learning Matplotlib, I actually have a short course listed on my website for Matplotlib. It goes into even more detail than what we talked about here, and we can further customize our plots. We're going to talk about other kinds of plots, even three-dimensional plotting, and how we're able to open up scientific data sets and show and visualize and understand what's going on inside of them. If it is of interest to you, I've left the link in the description for you to be able to go and sign up for the course. So that said, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.